Your first workout in the Feb Reset Challenge series is about to begin, so grab your mat laid out somewhere on your floor where you've got a bit of space. Have your water bottle nearby. You won't need any other equipment today. We're just going to start standing on our mat in 3, 2, 1. So finding your spot on your mat, feet underneath your hips, starting with some nice big shoulder rolls. And then as you breathe out, let your chin nod down towards your chest, rolling one vertebrae at a time down towards your mat. Letting your arms and head hang nice and heavy, and then with your exhale, rolling all the way up, restacking yourself up nice and tall. Big breath in again at the top. As you breathe out, let your chin nod down, shoulders roll forward. We peel all the way down to the bottom. And then with your next exhale, we stack our pelvis up on top of our thigh bones, bringing one vertebrae on top of the other until we come up to the top. Rolling down again. Feeling that space in between all of our vertebrae as we come down to the bottom. Using your exhale to roll you back up. Seeing if you can grow a little taller. Breathing out, we roll down. Seeing if we can get those legs nice and straight at the bottom, and then walking our hands all the way out till we come into our plank position. We're coming down into our push-up, walking nice and softly like a tiger all the way back, and rolling all the way back up to our top position. Rolling down again from our chin, letting our shoulders roll forwards. Again, those nice soft walks all the way out into our plank. Option to come down onto your knees for those push-ups if you like, otherwise staying on your toes if you can. Finding your own challenge in your workout today. Big breath in when you get to the top, breathing out, we roll down again. Feeling that nice melting of our spine, walking nice and softly all the way out into our plank position. Coming down into our push-up, walking our hands back to meet our feet, and then rolling up. Nice big roll down again to start off with. Walking our hands all the way out into that plank. Push up at the bottom, remembering that option to come down onto your knees if you need to. Rolling ourselves up. We've got one more of these here, so last one as we roll down. Coming out into that plank, nice soft hands. Breathing in, come into our push-up, breathing out, we come up. Let's go into our shoulder taps here. So aiming to keep those hips nice and level. Hand comes to tap your opposite shoulder. Option is to come down onto your knees. Our challenge to try and bring our bottom down to stay in that nice long plank position. Keeping our feet nice and wide for our balance, or a little bit of space between our knees if you're on your knees here. Just alternating into those shoulder taps. Dropping down onto our knees, sitting back into our child's pose. Just having a little breath here. We're going to shift our weight forward, coming onto our tummy. Arms out in front of us, legs behind us. Just lengthening our legs out nice and long, reaching our fingertips away. We're going to come into our chest lift here. So as we breathe in, lifting our chest, letting our eye gaze follow, breathing out to come down, and then we're going to lift our legs. So we're alternating lifting our chest and then lifting our legs, working through our extension here, extension in our spine. Really important we use that inhale as we lift, because that's going to fill our belly up, helping us lift our chest. We're not craning our neck back here. This time we're going to lift our arms and our legs together, and then just imagine we're swimming through the water. So little pitter patters with our arms and our legs, using our inhale to try and lift our chest a little higher. Last few here, staying up, seeing if we can lift a little higher in that extension through our back, fingers and toes nice and long, and then coming all the way down. We're going to roll over onto our side now, coming into our book openings. So we're going to have our knees stacked, our hips stacked, our head resting on our hand. Big breath in, we rotate our hand back behind us, following our hand with our eyes. Breathing out, we come all the way back to the front. Let's lead with our hand as we go behind, and then see if you can wrap your ribs around to the front and just let your arm follow as you come back to our starting position. That inhale is going to help us try and increase that rotation. We want to rotate our ribs around to the back as much as we can. So we're working through that thoracic rotation, imagining our body is like a cloth and we're trying to wring all the water out. We're going to bring our hand down onto the floor now, and then opposite hand to our shoulder. We're coming up into our little tricep press, so pressing our body up and away from the floor, seeing if we can lift all the way up, just pressing down through that top hand. Nice challenging one, so we won't be here for too much longer. Let's go for one more here. And then bring yourself all the way back down to your mat. Coming back, we're going to stack our hips one side on top of the other. Top hand can rest on our hip. We're coming into our fire hydrant. So our whole leg lifts together just as high as we can keep our hips stacked. Lifting up from that underside waist. We're going to lift that leg and lower our leg. So let's add in our breath here, breathing in to lift, breathing out to lower. We're keeping our hips stacked, eye gaze forwards, making sure we're not rolling back as we lift, working through our glutes here. Adding on your next one, we're going to lift into that fire hydrant, extend our leg out, bend it back in and lower our leg down. So just adding a nice little kick here, getting a little bit deeper into our glutes. Again, lifting up through that underside waist so we're not slumping down into the floor. Finding that nice comfy head position wherever that is for you, whether your arms out straight or we've got that bent elbow position. Last couple here. Really kicking that heel out in front of you. And then bringing our feet all the way back down and together. Extend your top leg nice and long. We're going to lift that whole leg, lower our whole leg. Lift and lower. You can point your toe nice and long to help find that length out through the side of your leg. Again, we're not trying to lift so high that our hip comes back towards our ribs or rolls backwards or forwards. Coming into some pulses now. So with our next one, pulsing a little bit higher each time. For 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then bringing our toe forwards or bringing our foot out to that 45. Toe goes down towards the floor. Lifting and lowering here, just working through our glute med. Last little exercise in this series coming up, extending our leg out, drawing circles just as big as our dinner plate with our toe nice and long. Rolling that thigh bone around in our hip socket. And then reversing our circles back in the other direction. Last 3, 2, 1, and then bringing our You're going to repeat all those exercises a second time. So bringing your bottom hand onto your opposite shoulder, top hand onto the ground. We're going into those tricep presses, so pressing our whole body up, lifting as much as we can with our tricep muscles, lifting that upper body up and off the ground, using our exhale with that challenging part of our exercise. Last one here. And then we're stacking our feet one on top of the other, hips stacked, knees stacked, coming into those fire hydrants. So our whole leg lifts up, just lifts as high as we can keep our hips stacked, bottom side on top of the top side. We should start to feel the burn through our glutes here in this second set. Lifting up that underside waist so we're not slumping down into the ground here. Getting ready to add those kicks in. So on your next one, we're lifting, extending that top leg out, bending and coming back in. Really kicking that heel out so your leg is nice and long. Good, using your exhale to lift and inhale as you lower. Good, last couple here before we go into our lifts and lowers. So extending that leg out nice and long now. Hips stay stacked. We lift that leg and lower our leg. We're not too worried about how high we go, just staying in control of that leg the whole time as we lift and lower. Pointing your toes so our leg is nice and long. Just be careful that we're just lifting that hip as high as we can keep our hips stacked. Coming into our pulses here, lifting a little bit higher each time. For 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then coming into those forward lifts and lowers, so out on a 45, toe drops down towards the mat and then lifting up. We've got one last exercise in this side lying series, taking our leg out nice and long, drawing small circles as big as our dinner plate, rolling that thigh bone around in our hip socket, and then reversing our circles back the other way. And then bringing our knee down, tapping out that glute. Nice work on that little glute series. We're going to roll over onto our tummy and then come onto all fours. So our hands are under shoulders, knees are under hips. Once you're there, we're going to step one foot back into our plank followed by the other and then come back into our all fours position. Option here is to drop those knees down each time you come in. Otherwise, staying with those knees lifted for an extra bit of challenge. Shoulders staying stacked over the top of your wrists as we move in and out of this little plank. Breathing out, out, in, out, in. Staying in that plank position as much as we can. Drawing our belly button in towards our spine so we stay strong through our core, looking just forward in front of our mat here. Last couple of our little plank tucks. Let's go for one more here. And then sending your bottom up towards the roof, coming into a plank pike now. So bottom comes up towards the roof, we look towards our feet, and then we shift our bottom back down, shoulders stack over the top of our wrists, and we come into that plank position. Your option to have a break wherever you need to, otherwise we're going to keep flowing through this exercise, trying to challenge our abdominal muscles, working on our shoulder stability. Each time we come into that plank, we want that nice long line going into those toe flicks now. So kicking one leg back, lifting your leg. Just lifting one leg at a time, sweeping those toes back, reaching your leg nice and long. Zipping up that tight pair of jeans so we stay strong through our core, diagonal line from our shoulders through our hips to our ankles. Good, last couple here. And then we're going to come back into our child's pose. Bottom comes back towards our heels, resting our arms out in front of us, head resting down on the mat. Finding those nice deep breaths. Let's shift over onto our second side now. Resting our head on our hands, hips stacked, feet stacked, coming into that book opening. Big breath in as we open out towards the other side, rotating our ribs around, keeping our hips stacked, following our hand with our eyes, and then as you breathe out, bring your ribs back around to the front, letting your arm follow. We're trying to get as much rotation through our thoracic spine, or that middle part of our spine, as we can. So taking our ribs back while keeping our hips where they are. Imagining our torsos like a wet cloth, we're trying to wring out all of the water, rotating back as much as we can. Last couple here, see if you can open up a little more using that inhale as we rotate back, and then your exhale as you come all the way back to the front. Closing our book, we're coming into those tricep presses, so that top hand is going to come onto the floor, bottom hand comes onto our opposite shoulder, pressing our upper body up. Doesn't matter how high you go, just work with whatever range you've got, trying to challenge yourself each time. Extending our arms straight if you can, and then lowering your body down nice and gently and controlled. Last couple here, very challenging exercise, so something we can work on throughout the challenge. Coming back into our side lying, we're going to go into those fire hydrants, so lifting that whole top leg together. Our shin is parallel towards that front edge of your mat. Just letting our leg come up as far as our hips stay stacked, so we don't want them rolling forwards or backwards, or up towards our ribs. We're just isolating that movement, adding in our kick now, so we lift, extend that leg, bend, and then draw it back in. Really extending that leg nice and long, kicking our heel on that 45. Hopefully you're getting that nice warmth through your glute on this second side now. We're going to come into those lifts and lowers, extending that leg out nice and long, lifting and lowering. Keep lifting up through that underside waist so we're not slumping down into our mat. Staying nice and strong through the upper body, working our obliques and our core to stabilize us in this side lying position. Keep breathing through this exercise, breathing in to lift, breathing out to lower. Coming up to our little pulses now, pulsing a little higher each time. And then bringing our leg out on the 45, toes down towards the floor, lifting and lowering here, working a little bit more through our glute med this time. Again, just keeping those hips stable as we lift and lower our leg. And then extending that leg out, dinner plate size circles. We're going to come straight into this second side after our last one here. So we are pressing up through that tricep press, trying to lift our upper body up and off the mat. Extending that bottom arm, your top arm, sorry, out nice and straight as you lift your upper body up. Just working with whatever range you've got here. A challenging exercise for those tricep muscles. Last couple of reps here. And then we're coming into that fire hydrant. So hips stacked, knees stacked, feet stacked, lifting that top leg. Whole leg comes together. Shin is parallel to that front side of your mat. Using our breath here, we breathe in to lift, breathe out to lower. We're going to add on those kicks shortly. So extending that leg out, we lift our fire hydrant, extend our leg, bend, and then lower. Each time we come down, we want our knees and our feet stacked so that we're keeping that nice alignment. Really kicking that heel out so our leg goes nice and long. Squeezing through that bottom crease of our glutes as we extend our leg. And then coming into that straight leg lifts and lowers, focusing on keeping our stability through our hips, lifting up through that underside waist, breathing in to lift, breathing out to lower. Just working at your own pace here. Working within your own range. Adding on those little pulses here, pulsing up towards the roof a little higher each time, within whatever range you've got. So just working that top range, taking our leg forward, lifting and lowering on that 45, toes pointing down towards the floor. Keep breathing here as we move. We've got one last little bit here, extending that leg out, little circles, just making them as big as our dinner plate. Let's reverse our circles back the other way. And then bring that leg down, tapping that leg out. Rolling over onto our tummy here. And then sitting back into our child's pose. Finishing with some stretches. We're going to come into our pigeon pose first. So we want to get that front shin as parallel to the front side of your mat now as you can. Other leg back behind you. Hinging over as much as feels good to you. Obviously, the further you hinge forward, the deeper we're going to make that stretch. So you can press yourself up and out of that stretch, or you can lean yourself down a little further. Using each exhale, we want to try and deepen that stretch as much as we can. Last couple of breaths here. Then we're going to switch straight over onto that other side. So as much as you can, you want to get that shin parallel towards the front edge of your mat. The more parallel it is to the front edge of your mat, the deeper your stretch is. So just work within whatever knee and hip range you've got at the moment. Lowering yourself down over that front knee, sending your back leg back. Just really breathing into this stretch here, using your exhale to try and deepen the stretch, sink a little lower. Last couple of breaths in this pigeon pose here. And then we're going to press ourselves up, coming back into our down dog, so heels sinking down towards the floor, and then bending one knee, sinking the other heel, so we get that stretch down through our calves, looking towards our feet, bottom up nice and high towards the roof. Then sinking both heels down, walk your hands to meet your feet, and roll yourself all the way up, restacking yourself up nice and tall. We'll finish with a roll down, letting our chin nod down, shoulders roll forwards, peeling all the way down. Arms and head hang nice and heavy at the bottom. And then breathing out, we restack ourselves all the way up nice and tall. You are all done. Well done on completing your first workout.